Welcome to the Instagram Stories for Thursday, October 27th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. The biggest news of the day has to do with Apple and Meta, Facebook and Instagram. Before I get into the news, here's a little bit of background. A couple of years ago, you may remember, Apple instituted the Do Not Track pop-up on iPhones. This resulted in Meta, Facebook, not being able to track users the way they used to, and as a result, lost over $10 billion in ad revenue due to this iPhone ad tracking prompt. That's just a little bit of background that you need to understand what's happening here. On Monday, Apple quietly updated its App Store rules to require that iOS developers must use in-app purchases, therefore giving Apple a 30% cut on sales of boosted posts in a social media app. You know where this is going. This primarily affects Facebook and Instagram, where people pay to boost the reach of their posts. This is the first time that Apple has directly taxed advertising inside iOS apps. So what does all that mean? Instagram and Facebook currently don't use Apple's in-app purchasing system for boosting posts. They have their own separate system. Apple realizes that allowing them to have their own separate system means that Apple does not get a cut of that boosted post revenue. Apple wants a cut of that boosted post revenue, and therefore they are pressuring Facebook and Instagram to route things through their in-app purchasing system. You're probably thinking, well, how does this affect me? This won't affect the largest advertisers on Facebook and Instagram. According to this Verge article, they highlight that it will be individuals who buy one-off boosts in Instagram and Facebook who will be affected the most, since they'll have to pay more for the same level of distribution. Here's a quote from a respected industry analyst, quote, "By inserting itself into the social media boosting process and extracting a 30% fee, Apple is reducing the effectiveness of advertising spend for small businesses and influencers," end quote. I am not a fan of Apple, as you've known for a long time if you listen to this show. I'm a longtime Android user. There are things I like about Apple, but this heavy-handed policy is really problematic. Where does it end? Say you text one of your friends to send you a Venmo because you bought pizza. Will Apple take a 30% cut of that? Or maybe you call your landlord and tell him you'll be mailing a check for your rent. Will Apple take a 30% of that because you use the iPhone? Where does it end, Apple? Where does it end? If you're an Apple user, I seriously encourage you to consider why you use this platform and if it's the best for you going forward when there are business practices like this happening. I'm going to link to this article in the show notes. Please check it out. It's from The Verge, and I definitely recommend it. In other news, Meta is launching new tools to help content creators and others retain control of their intellectual property. Before I get into that, here's a quick word from our sponsor. The Instagram Stories is sponsored by #Slayer.com. Reach new people, build your audience, and grow your business with #Slayer.com. No Facebook login is required for sign up. You can get started with your email address and get your first month free with the code IGStories at #Slayer.com. And we're back. Today, Meta announced a new intellectual property reporting API to help businesses protect their intellectual property rights across Facebook and Instagram. This article is long, so I'm going to skip to the relevant bit. If you're a business on Instagram or Facebook and you have access to the brand rights protection tool, if you have a registered trademark, they have a special tool that allows brands to protect that intellectual property across Facebook and Instagram. It allows brands to identify and report content for counterfeit, trademark, copyright infringement, and impersonation. You can report Facebook and Instagram ads, posts, pages, profiles, groups, shops, marketplace, buy and sell groups, and so on. If you send a request to take down content because of intellectual property, the Meta team reviews it within a day, removes the content if it's warranted, and so forth. This is really important if you've ever created content that you've seen someone else sharing and thought, hey, I own that. No one else has the right to share it without my permission. Definitely look into the brand's right protection. I will link to it in the show notes so you can check it out. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for listening, and be sure to come back tomorrow for more Instagram news.
I'm not yet a member of the Instagram team, but my podcast covers many Instagram themes. But the name, image, logos are trademarks of Instagram and the LCC in the USA and every territory. Everything I publish independently until Zuck returns my DMs and starts to pay my salary. Not sponsored or endorsed, no lies, no fallacies. I use their logo with permission, not malicious or callously. No trademark violation, filling all criteria. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Daniel Hill Media.